towards attaining the middle income status after 1 year of general elections? Are we on course towards attaining the middle income status after 1 year of general elections? Starting with Mrs. Nandaula Selwada, how do you understand the middle income status and how far have we gone?
Thank you, moderator. And once again, good morning to our listeners. Well, the middle income status, first of all, maybe I have to give a little background that I'm an economist, and in economics, this is something which is set internationally and globally. We know what middle income status means, but as far as Uganda is concerned, we set up parameters, and this is to say that we have to attain a per capita income of 1,000 plus, 1,056 or 1,036, but it has to be 1,000 per capita income. But again, in our Uganda setup, we agreed under the National Development Plan 3 and 2 that this should not be, we should not stop at the per capita income, but we should widen it and include the social indicators. And this is to say the quality of livelihoods of our people, the education, the health, and even include the other players, like how is the private sector doing, how is the public sector doing. So it's a much more than the per capita income, which is 1,000. We go ahead and look at the quality of livelihoods in Uganda. And the quality of livelihoods, like I've mentioned, are made up of the health, the social sector's health and education, and all the other issues that affect our livelihoods.
Okay. Professor Ndebesa, as a lecturer of history, do you think the NRM government would achieve this middle income status, or if we remained with the former governments, would have achieved this a long time ago?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You would also want to add maybe to widen and define the meaning of middle income status. Most of those standards are set internationally by institutions like the World Bank, and categorize countries according to income. But I'm glad to hear that the government has gone beyond income and is trying to measure that status using livelihood indicators or living standards indicators. So a middle income status country, for a country to attain a middle income status, it, as my colleague here has pointed out, it needs to have had around 1,000 and 1,000 plus dollars, US dollars. That is calculated according to the population. You have the general population. You divide it by the GDP, the gross domestic product of the country. In the region of East Africa, to give comparative perspective, Kenya has attained that level of middle income status. It is actually slated to go to the upper middle income status, but it is still at the verge, it is still in the lower. Tanzania also has achieved middle income status recently. No. So it is Uganda and Rwanda maybe Burundi, that is a different case, which are slated to have that. Now, in the case of Uganda, we are around 800 towards maybe 900 US dollars. But to reach 1,000 is not easy. When you hear 900, you think we are about to reach. We could take another 2, 6 or many years. Now, is Uganda healthy, economically healthy since 2021? I am afraid the economic growth was slowed down by COVID-19 and now by the Russian-Ukraine war and the inflation that we are experiencing. And I think the economic growth indicators do not show that we are growing at a faster rate as we were in 2020 before COVID-19. And therefore, achieving middle income status is still a faraway dream. But even if we achieve the middle income status in terms of income, as in dollars, when it comes to human development indicators, I think we still have a long way to go. Because even this middle income status measured around GDP, it is enough. But the majority of the population in Uganda may not be enjoying a living standard commensurate with the income of the country. Some of this income is measured by, for example, our export earnings. And the largest export earner for Uganda now, as we talk, is gold. But that gold industry that we are now talking about, who gets the income from gold exports? Very few people share in the income from the gold exports. And then, even if we had a middle income status of a GDP of 1,000 US dollars, still it would not be equally distributed to the general population, depending on which income are we making this GDP. So we are still doing back that direction, and we need to do something in order also to transform the economy, the structure of the economy. The structure of the economy in Uganda is still tilted towards things like gold, manufacturing, the manufacturing industry, but not trickling down to the general population in terms of income as well as in terms of standards of living. So we still have a long way to go, and we need to come together and discuss this issue of economic development, of economic governance in this country. I am afraid that if we all don't come together to discuss these issues, we may not achieve our goals, because there is a tendency to monopolize economic planning and economic policy making. For example, the latest we have is the parish development model. But how many of us, you and me and everybody here, participated in crafting that parish development model? So anyway, the situation is not as good as we expected and as were promised. By the way, the middle income status for Uganda was promised by the NRM government to be achieved in 2020. We are now in 2022.
But they said that it is a vision 2040. They're saying they still have for 20 years to go.
No, the middle income status was promised during the campaigns to be attained in 2020. I'm going by the promise. There was no popular participation in envisioning that 2030. We have very many visions, by the way, 2030, 2063, 20 I don't know what. And you know, sometimes when you have multi visions, they say you have squinted eyes. So it seems as if our economic development plan is squinted-eyed.
Okay. We have is the program manager from of the program Gender and Economic Development from the Forum for Women in Democracy. I'm giving you seconds to greet our dear listener.
I greet you, listeners. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be with these honorable panelists, and I hope to contribute to this topic of whether we are achieving middle income, what has been done so far.
First of all, how do you understand the middle income status? Are we there yet?
No, we are not there yet, and like Professor Ndebesa was saying, first of all, we have been shifting the goalposts every now and then. We say 2020, then we say, okay, no, it's not coming. Now 2023, and 2023 is just next year. Now 2025. So for me, first of all, when we talk about middle income, I actually sometimes get suspicious that our government has been waiting to peg middle income to the first drops of oil. And that in a way is worrying, because middle income can be achieved while the country is actually still poor. Sometimes you can achieve middle income artificially, and that is if you get something like, for example, oil, which is a big booster. The country's revenues will grow, but the revenues of the population will not really grow, because so the government will get taxes from oil, the government will get revenue from oil, and they will say the country now has reached middle income, whereas the actual population in the villages in Karamoja is still living in the same conditions they were living in. And I work for a women's rights NGO, the Forum for Women Democracy, and for us, we get very concerned about the more than half of Uganda's population, the women, who in many instances are actually getting left behind. Professor Ndabisa was talking about the country is now talking about oil and gold. Yes, those are very good for our country, but very few citizens participate in those. Less than even 1%, actually less than 0.005 of the population participate and benefit from those. We have to agree that majority of our population in Uganda is still participating in and benefiting from agriculture. There is no way around that. And particularly agriculture benefits from over 70% of women in Uganda are employed in agriculture. And I would like to thank the government a bit for there have been some efforts, but the efforts have been very poorly coordinated. We have shifted, we have staggered all the way from the plan for modernisation of agriculture to NADS to Bunagawale to now the parish development model.
Because we want Ugandans to achieve the 2020 middle income status.
Yes,
and without these programs, how would we expect to reach there?
Yes, and that's why I said I want to thank the government for introducing the programs, but then again I kind of went into critiquing those programs, because I call it staggering into the programs, because our government has had a habit of implementing programs either with poor coordination sometimes, or with implementing them halfway. For example, I'll give an example of NADS, which is still halfway there, halfway here. NADS, many people are blaming NADS for failing, but actually, when the plan for modernisation of agriculture was introduced in Uganda, it had around either 3 or 4 pillars. NADS, which is the distribution of inputs, was just one pillar.
I think they were about 7.
Yes, they are about 7. Okay, but my point is that the government then went ahead to only introduce, focus on one pillar of let's do inputs, but you're giving people inputs, but where the markets, where is the technical support of the extension workers from the Ministry of Agriculture? So you introduce NADS, you give people seedlings and inputs, then somehow you phase out extension worker at the Ministry of Agriculture. Most likely, there's actually a likelihood that you're throwing that money in a pit. Very few things will germinate.
Actually, to intervene a little bit, NADS in full was National Agricultural Advisory Development Services.
Yes.
Giving out to young piglets and goats and seedlings is not NADS. It was something else. So that is where the problem also lies, implementing what we did not plan.
Okay.
But you can continue.
Yes, thank you. So now, from NADS, as Professor Ndebesa is saying, you introduce a program and somehow it gets diverted, and the things you're supposed to implement don't get implemented. Then somehow the easier things of just giving out inputs go ahead. So fast forward now, we come to our new parish development model. First of all, Professor Ndebesa has already talked about how participatory was it in development. But for us,
in formulating,
in formulating that program, somehow I work in the NGO sector and we usually scrutinize a lot of government programs. But this the parish development model somehow, if I can say, fell out of the sky. We were just there one day and the government said,
consulted.
Both, because NGOs and the CSO sector, we have what we can call a constituency, our women in the villages, for us, the Platform for Women Democracy. And so when I say fell out of the sky, I'm not saying consulted me as Mr. Emmanuel, but generally it just appeared actually within a period of 1 year. And they said now we are shifting to a new program.
Because we use it to as a situation where when the government wants to do something, a very good project, the people of Uganda themselves antagonize and jeopardize the process. So that's why we sometimes introduce the already made project.
Can I intervene?
It is Serwada.
Yes, I wanted to put the record straight. That we have a plan which we are following. We are right now at the NDP 3.
A plan that does not involve the NGOs and civil society.
I'm coming to that. And the NDP 3 envisaged that by 2050 we shall be in the upper middle income. But we were to attain middle income in 2020. So we are at the level of government.
So you have failed.
There is an organized framework. Yes, we have reasons why, but there is an organized framework which we are following, and this is integrated or aligned to Agenda 2063, which is the AU, and the Social Development Goals, which are the global UN goals, and then we have other programs which are coming in, but. For us to say that it's 2020 or 20 whatever, no, that's not true, because if you read right from NDP 1, NDP 2, and NDP 3, which we are at now, these are well stated and targeted, but achieving them is a different thing.
Okay.
Then I wanted also to talk about the participatory. Participatory is very good, yes, bringing in all of us, because we are now talking about inclusive growth, inclusive whatever. It's very good, and bringing in all the key stakeholders. But I want to call upon Ugandans that at times when this is not done, can we also be proactive and get to know what is in there for us and make our leaders accountable?
What proactive are you talking about?
Now the parish model is here with us. It's being rolled out. Can we get the time to understand what the parish model is all about?
We have understood, but we're not seeing the money.
Can we get... That's a different... That's now a different argument. But can we also take the time, like, for example, the UBC? What role have you done to make sure that if the planning was not participatory, how can we make people understand right from the grassroots up to our leaders to make sure that we all participate and benefit, and we all contribute to its implementation and the achievements. I mean, the set achievements which are there in.
Okay. Can I come in here, Mr. Yes.
I was still concluding something.
So
first come in for a second.
Just on participation, we have to be very careful. You can be participated
okay, for on who is coming in to participate?
You can be participated instead of participating.
Yes.
So if you are coming up with a policy shift, like a major policy shift like that, or plan like a parish development model, and you have not involved people and you are selected to begin it, to send the money and all that, and then you say, you people come in when we are along the way and join us, and we start talking and giving our views. It is participating us for legitimation purposes. So I don't think that when we come in at the tail end, when the program is on the way, that we are actually participating. We are being participated so that at one time the program will be legitimized, that you see these people also gave their views, but the views are inconsequential. That's what I mean by being participated instead of participating.
And
Sure.
what does that mean?
I'm saying it's very key, but if it has not been done, can we be proactive? And
And be participated.
I'm not ruling out the participatory bit. I'm saying it's very key for us to plan together, to understand, to give our views. But if it's not done, how can we be proactive?
But Mrs. Selwada, for how long are you going to keep introducing and establishing government projects and programs without involving the
Well, I think at this point in time, we have to understand what being involved in is, because already we have a decentralized policy, for example. What are the district officers doing? What are the... My colleague here said he's from the NGO. I've ever worked with the NGOs. So the NGOs should be able to come in now, because we are partners in development. The NGOs, all of us are partners in
How can they come in without you inviting them?
We always invite them.
So they did not
There is not a
honor
single
their
time when we haven't
invitation.
invited them. But
I
how...
participate in the civil society. I have never been invited. Neither my NGOs have been invited to give views in planning the parish development model.
And for women in democracy have not been invited as well and involved. So, and your comment on that?
For me, actually, my point was mostly around number one, but the second thing, I was driving a point from when I said the plan for modernization of agriculture and NADS had pillars, and the government chose to implement these pillars selectively. So now I said to the parish development model. Okay, so now we go ahead. Maybe participation was limited, but now nonetheless we go ahead. So the parish development model, also like the previous programs, has 7 pillars. Now our worry in civil society also comes in from the same worry I talked about the plan for modernization of agriculture. The only in the parish development model, we hear the government, and maybe because it has a political sense that money is coming, I think the government is concentrating on only pillar number 3, which is financial inclusion. Okay. Yes, it's a very good pillar. I agree with you.
Who told you?
Mr. Debesa, what I was saying is, okay, the program has been developed. The 100 million is supposed to flow to the to a parish. Well and good, but for us and personally, and also on behalf of my organization, one of the big concerns I have is that if you just implement this pillar while leaving the rest of the 6 pillars. For example, one pillar for us we are very concerned about as civil society is pillar number 5 on mindset change. So while you're saying 100 million shillings will go to each parish, but like the programs before that, first of all we must first agree to the importance of mindset change, setting the mindset of the citizen.
That's very key.
It's very key. And in the beginning year of the parish development model, when you're going to push out close to 1 trillion shillings to because if you give each parish 100 million shillings, you're coming close to pushing out pushing out to the citizens over a trillion. So while you're pushing out 1 trillion shillings to on pillar number 3 on financial inclusion, the pillar number 5 on mindset change, trying to prepare the mindset of citizens to the partial development model, is asking for money as little as 17 billion, and the government in this in the coming financial year for financial year 22/23 is only saying out of 17 billion I can only give you 1 billion. So now it comes back to the point I was saying earlier that with NADS, with
as you conclude,
you're going to give these people money, but first of all they don't understand the program, and they may actually lose the money. Someone I had someone of recent on the media actually asking a key question, saying, if you think money is the problem in the population, how comes when a boy in Butambara gets 5 million shillings, he doesn't buy or chicken, most likely he buys the border. It's about mindset. And
maybe make more money than sheep and goats.
Then maybe our government should push money into borders instead of 100 million into agriculture at the grassroots. But agriculture is a very good program, and but that's what I'm talking about. The mindset you have first.
I think that by giving Myoga money. Myoga is supporting such small enterprises.
Yes, even the Myoga were preset. There were how many Myogas? If I remember, I think there were 5 or 6 sets of Myoga which are preset.
Maybe. And have the to
First and foremost, I want to tell our listeners that it's not changing the goalposts. We promise that by 2020 we shall be in the lower middle income, and then by 2050 we shall be in the upper middle income. 2050 is our vision. 2050 envisage that, but it's broken down into these 5-year development plans, which we NDP1, like I mentioned, NDP2 and NDP3. And in these, we agreed that by 2020, we shall be in the lower middle income. But when we are starting this program, Professor pointed out that we've been affected by COVID-19.
Tanzania.
And the impact of COVID-19 on our economy, on our resources, on most sectors we've not recovered from that. So government now has to rethink and say, under the circumstances and in line with what we set out to do in NDP3, what is the best way to bring in the people, to bring them out of poverty? And that's how we came up with the parish model plan. This deviate from the NDP3 or all the other development plans, but it's a of quickening the process and saying that let's take the development down to the people. Let's identify the basic needs of the people and how they can be improved. Let's agriculture in each district to make sure that the incomes are improved. Let's identify the exports. What is it that we are exporting to Kenya, for example? We identified maize. What is it? How can we improve the maize right from the garden? So the is really to make sure that we recover using a certain organized framework from the COVID-19 and issues. He also talked about the Ukraine war. See how the fuel prices have escalated, and this filter down to every other sector and item we buy.
They started just yesterday, but the issues of Uganda not achieving the middle income status are not of recent.
Yes, I do agree with that, but if you read at the achievements of the NDP2, for example, we made achievements. We made some great strides
Oh,
because,
sure. What are
for example, talked about the income, which is now at 900, shifting from as low as 300 to now 900. That's an achievement. We've increased our exports. We've increased our exports to Kenya. We've increased our exports globally to the EU. We've increased our exports to our neighboring countries under the East African Community. And we've done well, I think, in terms of education. The enrollment of schools has increased. So
are we exporting? We might be exporting, but not at the level where we wanted.
In fact,
yeah, because of
fact, can I ask a question?
It's
because
okay.
of the
Can we have Ndebesa for a second?
So that she answers it.
It is okay, Mr. Ndebesa.
What is our trade deficit?
Well, I don't have the figures right now.
But
in
do we have
my
a
head.
trade deficit?
Yes, we do.
So is that doing very well?
I didn't say that we are doing very well, but I said we've had some achievements. These achievements are in the exports because we set out to increase the exports. We are doing coffee. We are doing well with the maize, the
but
cereals.
we are also doing well by importing more.
Now we need to discuss openly with government and say if our orientation is to reduce on the imports, what are the key imports that are coming to Uganda? How can we bridge that gap by increasing the manufacturing of these imports right from the production, the value chain? We look at the value chain. These are issues we need to discuss, and we are welcome to such ideas and say, if we are importing a lot of rice, for example, and already we are promoting rice, how can we support our farmers to make sure that they increase the production? How can we increase the fertilizers? Because already Uganda is zoned, by the way. We know what can grow where. So to me, we have all the infrastructure laid out. But how can we support government with these programs and projects to make sure that there is increased production and productivity, to make sure that we lessen the importations, for example, of rice and any other basic commodities?
Talking about exports, Mrs. Serwada, you may agree with me that political environment in the East Africa matters, especially, and influences how much we export.
Exactly.
I am very glad that you come from the East African Community Affairs, the ministry.
Yes.
Are you not bothered with the environment? Are you not bothered with the relations we have with the neighbors? South Sudan, they are torturing the members of Uganda who are trading there. Our borders with Rwanda still have strings attached. The other day, Kenya was stopping our exports. For how long are we going to keep this, and how best are you willing to solve this?
The most important thing I think we should note is that we all have the goodwill to make sure that the regional integration works and it achieves its objectives. But we have to understand that we are still sovereign states. In Uganda, we have our own set of rules, our own regulations, we have our own aspirations, we have our development goals, we have all that as a sovereign state. So is Rwanda, so is Kenya. But above all this, we have the goodwill and we've laid out frameworks. For example, under the customs union and the common market, we have the free movement of goods and services, and we have the improvement in trade, movement of trade. And what have we done? Despite the sovereignty, what is it that we've done? We've, for example, opened up our borders. We've lessened the time, for example, as far as the landlocked countries like Uganda are concerned, we've lessened up the time from Mombasa, for example, to our borders. And how have we done this? We have airports, which you all know. Initially, you would spend a lot of time on the borders, for example, trying to cross. But now this is no more. We have a one-stop border post where the Kenya and Ugandans sit and make sure that they support the people crossing, the goods and services crossing. We've laid out the regional integration is premised on 4 pillars: the customs union, the common market, the monetary union, and the political federation. And we've attained the customs union, we've attained the common market, though not fully, because we still have some issues.
Have we attained or we have just signed? You have to make a distinction. There's a difference.
We've attained the customs union, we've attained the common market, we've attained, I said though not fully, but there are some areas, like I've mentioned, in trade. You know, the East African Community is one of the regional integration groupings, which is a showcase, I should say, among the East African or the regional groupings, because trade, we have achieved the trade integration, which I'm mentioning, that when you are crossing the borders, we've lessened the time. We've laid out frameworks that can help the traders.
Okay.
We've laid out standards. We have over 4,000 standards which we are following and which are being domesticated here in Uganda and elsewhere in the partner states. In all the sectors, education, health, we have attained certain good indicators.
And failed to achieve the 2020 middle income status goal.
And by the way, even under the East African Community, we have the Vision 2050, which is aligned to our visions, and is also working towards attainment of the middle income by 2050.
Okay.
So we have an integrated program, but how we are implementing it is still, we have some challenges, big challenges, which we can all work together and make sure that they are lessened.
All right. Letting the government change goalposts, we believe that one day they will stop and achieve the goals. But do you see these governments and programs taking us to the middle income status, or we are just buying time?
Thank you. I think let's even look at the fundamentals. We were almost taken up by one project or program, which is a parish development model. But let's go to the fundamentals. And in these fundamentals, I would like to use the slogan of NRM that it is social economic transformation. And particularly since we are discussing the economy, let's look at economic transformation. Now, to transform the economy, you must deal with structures. There must be structural transformation if you have to attain development or transformation, as it were. Now, structural transformation, among others, would mean that we have the structures that the majority of the people are employed in agriculture, that we need to shift people employed in agriculture to go to manufacturing and services sector. But instead, we are seeing more people going into agriculture rather than transforming into manufacturing and services. By the way, agriculture, although we normally say is the backbone of the country in respect of employing the majority of the people and in respect of feeding the population, agriculture contributes only 22 to 23% to GDP.
That means it cannot take us to the middle income status goal.
Just listen to that. The sector which we are taking all the people into contributes only 23% to the GDP. And in terms of revenue correction, by revenue authority if you want, agriculture does not contribute even more than 1%. That is the situation that we do have. But that is not to say agriculture is irrelevant, because it feeds us at least, and we feed the population, and we keep on reducing on food insecurity. But in terms of structural transformation, we are still very far. 2, structural transformation would mean that we shift away from merely producing, increasing production to productivity, increased productivity. And the economists here will agree with me. By the way, I have even written a paper about agricultural productivity in Uganda. Agricultural productivity is decreasing by the day. Production may be increasing, but productivity is decreasing. We are talking about production per unit area or per unit. That one we are doing very badly. And to have economic transformation, you must deal with issues of productivity. I'll give you another aspect of productivity. Labor productivity. It is said by researchers that actually Uganda is lagging behind in terms of labor productivity, lagging behind Tanzania and Kenya. So our labor productivity is also still very low.
Yet we are proud of the labor force.
Well, labor force in terms of education, by the way, for your information, even Kenya and Tanzania are now ahead of us, at least at primary level. That's very unfortunate, and Uganda used to be the best. But it is instead decreasing. Kenya and Tanzania are ahead of us according to research. But that is not even in talking about formal education. In terms of labor productivity in the industry, in agriculture, and other aspects. So if we have to have structural transformation of society, we have also to address the question of labor productivity. Related to labor productivity, we talk about we are no longer living in muscle power. We need to shift away from using muscle power to using soft power. Now, in terms of research and development, we are not doing very well. And if you were to chase to find out what patents have we registered as Uganda, we are talking about discoveries and inventions. We are doing very, very, very badly in that area of research and development. Somehow Kenya is making some small breakthroughs. You remember this money we are using, the mobile money. The mobile money in the whole world was discovered in Kenya, was invented in Kenya. That is a very big achievement. Just this week I was hearing the parliament here discussing the Musenero question in terms of our researchers, and she's being put on notice by the MP from my area, that is in Tungamo municipality. Now, we were promised that there would be COVID vaccines, but now we don't know even where the talk has ended. How much are we investing in research and development? Because research and development has got higher returns than even investing money and giving out money and some small goats and sheep and whatever. Research and development has got higher returns because it increases productivity. And when you increase productivity, not production, that means you are having a structural transformation of the economy. Now, unless and until we address the fundamentals and how to do that one, it must be concerted efforts. It must be participatory. When we talk about participatory, people jump to my father, who is 104 years old, by the way, and the likes. No, we need to have these NGO people. We need to have the academia. We need to have input, intellectual input into policy making processes, and that brings us the governance question and democracy.
All right.
Yes.
You're listening to UBC Ground Zero. We're broadcasting live on 98 FM, UBC Red. We're also live on clear our sister radio stations, UBC Butebo, covering the eastern parts of this country, UBC Western Nile FM, covering the Western Nile, Teso and northern parts of this country. And also we are live on Magic 100 FM, the source of entertainment. And this is UBC Red. Ampaire Amon Ortega is my name. And in the studios, it is a very big privilege and honor that we have Professor Mwambosia Ndebesa, is the senior lecturer of history and development studies from Makerere University. Mrs. Nandawula Serwada is the regional integration expert from the Ministry of East African Affairs. We also have Emmanuel Kazaija is coming from Forum for Democratic
not Democratic Change. For what day?
I had taken you to Chairman Mao's.
I may find tear gas waiting on outside.
All right. To go for a very short break. When we return, you will give us your opinions and ideas on what you think needs to be done for Uganda to achieve the middle income status. The NRM government has 1 year in office. Where do you see Uganda going with this government and with this new Chisanja or term, with their popular statement securing our future or securing Uganda's future, as they say? We're going for a very short break, as I said. Get your phones ready. When we come, you raise us on 776 511 426. The number to call is 776 511 426. And later on, we're going to be joined by Honorable Dombo Lumara, who is the spokesperson of the National Resistance Movement. And also, we have a professor who is going to be online as well. This is UBC Ground Zero.
It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. This is Independent Sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Buduri FM, 100.5 Nge FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Totore Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
As Uganda works towards Vision 2040, UBC Radio is dedicated to the development of Uganda. Join us every day for transformative programs in English, Swahili, and Luo. This is UBC Radio.
It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
What break? This is UBC Ground Zero. We're broadcasting live on 98 FM, UBC Radio. We also live and clear on our sister radio stations, UBC Butebo covering the eastern parts of Uganda, UBC Western Nile covering the parts of the Western Nile, Northern and Tessa region, and also we are live on Magic 100 FM, and we're live on YouTube. You just type UBC Ground Zero, you'll be part of this conversation. It is the right time that you call us on 776 511 426. That we are talking about, are we on course towards attaining the middle income status after 1 year of general elections? UBC?
Yes, this is Juma from Busega.
You're live and clear on UBC.
Thank you very much.
Your concern?
Yes. Okay, to me, we shall continuously dancing the tune of this government. I don't know whether it is Lingala. We shall be dancing it. Number one. Number two, equal opportunity. Number three, transparency. Number 4, accountability. Then all this, the last word for me, corruption. Then when someone is telling us they are ever changing, that one, if it is in sport analysis by FIFA, you can't tell me that you have guarantee in your office today pushing it up to from 2020 to 2050. Now, who is going to be beneficiaries for that? They want to tell us that the next generation, they want to enjoy what they're planning. What is the importance of having a government 5 years term even as a term? Meaning, any program, any government initiative across within 1 year to 5 years, you can reach at least half of it. Then when it is now 2020, you are telling us more 30 years ahead of us. Then I will tell you that, please, government, you resign, go and look into your farms at home. Leave the office for those who are capable within 5 years, and they give service deliveries to the beneficiaries down in the villages. And again, I add my voice by saying, next time when you're inviting such a guest, let them move along with someone in the field, in the village. Because these are the people who are rotating in the offices within Kampala here, in the central government. They don't know what people are feeling about them locally there. Even it should not be informed that today you not representatives, you come tomorrow talk show. No, let the phone call to come from nowhere. You ask maybe whoever is concerned from within the village level. Then you pick one phone call, you direct it to the central government office. Then they should not be aware that our subordinates, they are also online. No, you will call, then people will tell you their views. Because sometimes they gather together, they form one regiment, they come and represent to camouflage everything going on. For us, me as Juma, corruption, let us first fight corruption, equal opportunity, as I read it as before. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, and greetings to the people of Bosega.
Alhamdulillah, they have had.
UBC, we're live on 98 FM and also on other radio stations. You reach us on 776 511 426. The number to call is 776 511 426 and be part of this very conversation. Raise your comment or your issue now, as we are going to wait for Honorable Dombo to be online and also address our concerns. UBC, you can call again on 776 511 426 is the number that you can reach us on. We are talking about, are we on course towards attaining the middle income status after 1 year of general elections? UBC, I think I have issues with my line. UBC? You're live and clear on UBC? Okay, perhaps we shall get into that. Let me go in the studios where I will get back to the callers. The number to call is 776 511 426. You will call us later on, and I'll be picking your calls during the discussion. Do I have issues with my line? Hello?
Hello.
You're live on UBC? Your name again? About John from Tororo.
Yes.
Your concern, please?
My concern is,
yes,
the hearing our future will not help because one we are now even like this technology of things is now high, and when the panelists said that it will reach time when we can meet in Middle East income, we cannot reach there. The security in our future, and unless there's a change somewhere, or the government thinks about the future.
All right. Most welcome. Greetings to the people of Tororo. UBC on 98 FM, UBC Radio, and other radio stations. Debesa, is it true we have corruption in Uganda that has hindered our development to achieve our national goals?
when I was a student, our professor sometimes used to castigate us for saying what is true. He calls it truism. So to ask whether there is corruption, no corruption in Uganda is truism that there is corruption anyway. And the Kora
is the rate of corruption really hindering our development, or it is something that we can tolerate?
Actually, it does. And myself, by the way, I'm not so much concerned about corruption as financial corruption of embezzlement. I am more concerned about political corruption. And the
what is the difference?
Oh, there is a gulf. Our Kora Juma actually pointed out to principles of good governance and that they need to be attained. We need to go towards those in order to have good economic governance, because some of the challenges of lack of economic transformation is poor economic governance. Now, when you are, for example, involved in influence peddling, and when you are giving, you are having a bloated parliament which earns a lot of money, when you have got a bloated cabinet which takes a lot of money, when you have got a lot of bloated districts and other administrative units, you end up spending more on administrative costs than economic development. So you lack funds for investing in public investment in order to spur the other private sector development. So that is political corruption. When you have corruption during elections, we are talking about 1 year after elections, how do you expect to control the other financial corruption when you started with political corruption? But I wanted to talk about some other issue from the Tororo Kora there, who said that it is not possible to attain middle income status. I wanted the caller, by the way, there to know, and all the listeners, that actually some regions in Uganda are already middle income status. Especially central and western Uganda are middle income status already. It is eastern and northern Uganda which are very, very low on the scale, because in some regions, according to UBOS, poverty is at 60%.
Professor, what you're saying is that some of the parts in Uganda have already achieved the target of the middle income status.
Others are even threatening to go to the upper middle income status.
When the others are still not anywhere near being even the lowest of the lowest. So even in some regions of Uganda, where poverty is at say 10% or 7%, that means those ones are already middle income status level. So when we talk about middle income status of Uganda, that we are not yet attaining it, we are averaging. We are using the general average according to our GDP. But some regions already are in middle income status. So it's not important to attain middle income status, but we have to plan, have less of political corruption, which has taken a lot of our funds, which otherwise would have been invested in public investment, which would facilitate the private sector investment. UBC.
Yes, hello.
You are live and clear. Your concern, please. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Mundua Geoffrey from Arua.
Yes, Geoffrey.
Yes.
From Arua.
Yes.
Your concern, please.
For me, I just my brother, my father, Juma.
The
issue of corruption is really still in our country. For my own concern, we are lacking our parental care from the above. Going to parliament.
A network. Think network.
I'm saying.
Perhaps you call us again. We're not getting you. Hello.
Yes, I'm saying.
Please, in seconds.
We are lacking parental care. Since we elected these people, they just go to the parliament, even forever. They'll just come to us when almost the time is approaching also to election again. So I wanted to know if the government could allow these parliamentary people, our MPs, to come and address such ideas with these people. It will be better for us to also fight against corruption.
Okay.
Some of these things we are just hearing it from afar. We even don't know where they are happening, but we are just hearing them over the radio like this. So it is very hard for us to trust them.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and greetings to the people of Walua. 98 FM on 776 511 426. Mrs. Let me get. Missy.
Hello, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Acho Jimmy Alingo here in Tiboli.
Okay. Your concern, please?
Yeah. To attend that, I was suggesting that the government should legalize mineral business in the country. Gold, diamond, etc. And set up processing, testing all over the country.
All right. Are you saying that these minerals are only exploited by government?
Yes. They are done by people just in a hiding way.
All right.
So it should be legal and everybody has access to it.
All right. 776-511-426 on UBC Red. Mrs. Selwada, you've heard from the callers. Corruption, you don't have equal opportunity, you don't give chance of equal opportunities to Ugandans, but also people believe that your target is not for this generation. The middle income status is for the next generation. Is that true?
First of all, I don't want people to lose hope. That's very important. But I also prescribe.
I think they have already.
No, they shouldn't lose hope because we have, like I've pointed out, we have very good government programs which we need to implement as a collective responsibility. And I want to believe that yes, corruption is a very big challenge for us all. And I want to believe that, to subscribe to what the professor has said, that the cabinet is bloated, the parliament is bloated, and all the other associated expenses which would otherwise be used to implement our development goals.
Okay.
This is being wasted.
All right.
But we've had programs for the youth, for example. This is under Ministry of Gender. I'm not very much, but we've had programs for the youth. So we need to evaluate and assess ourselves. What have we achieved from these programs, and how?
It is true we have these programs, but how many are we looking at? Because the youth are mark 78% of the population of Uganda.
Exactly.
You might be looking at 1%, and we are comfortable saying that we are looking and implementing the progress for the youth.
Going forward, I think what we need to do is to really have a concerted planning effort where we all come together, the key players and the key institutions. For example, if the youth programs are in gender, Ministry of Gender, what is the role of education in skilling and improving the innovation and skills and entrepreneurship skills before even these funds are given to the youth?
Okay.
So what is the role of the private sector? What is the role of the banks in making sure that there is training, there is follow-up action, there is what is the role of the Ministry of ES Affairs in market access? So we have to come together in a concerted effort and make sure that any other programs are not wasted, but each of us has his own or her own responsibility. We set targets. Why are we setting these targets? What are the outcomes of these targets? How will they benefit the youth in each of the districts? because Professor has said that already in the central and the west there is middle income. But what is the percentage of this middle income to the people, and how are the youth faring in this middle income status, which has already been achieved in certain areas? So to me, we shouldn't lose hope, but the wastage, the corruption, the equal opportunity, we already have the Equal Opportunities Act. How do they come in to make sure that the programs benefit a wider scale of Ugandans?
Okay. But the people of Uganda see what is happening around in the country as if we are experiencing the last kicks of a dying donkey, that the government has failed. Before you answer that, let me have this caller. UBC?
Yes, good morning, sir.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Charles from Boise.
Your name again?
Charles from Boise.
All right.
My concern is about the city.
Okay.
The capital city, the roads are like the slums. Someone who comes from the abroad can say this is village, not even a city. Secondly, the total borrowing for Ugandan economy, for Ugandan, is more than what is in our country, for our country. Especially, let me give you an example. You cannot tell me, from this year, national ID will replace at 50. Next year, it is 500. Now, supposing I lose my national ID and then I replace it at 500, when my salary will be 130. Which, that money, where am I going to get from? Thank you.
Most welcome. Greetings, the people of Busega. Yes, are we experiencing the kicks of a dying donkey?
Actually, if I can build on to, Professor Nevesa's political corruption question, Professor Nevesa mentioned the issue of political corruption, and it interests us a lot because as CSOs, we usually, on an annual basis, the civil society usually does auditing and reviewing of government programs, and even up to the local government level. And for me, one area we are very scared about is that the political corruption Mr. Debsa is mentioning, or Professor Debsa is mentioning, has actually, first of all, killed decentralization. But even things like the giving out or dividing districts according to political wishes has led to a situation where, moderator, I can say this confidently, I have personally audited the budget framework papers of over 100 districts in Uganda. And you find in an average district, because the government usually has three major expenditure lines at local government level, is what they call wage recurrent, which are just salaries, non-wage recurrent, which are things to do with fuel, workshops, and everything, and then development expenditure. So in most of our local governments in Uganda, you will find that when you combine wage recurrent and non-wage recurrent, you get an average of 90% in local governments, meaning only 10%, but even there I'm being optimistic, 10% is development expenditure in these local governments. So how do you achieve development while spending only 10% on development? We usually urge our government to treat government work more like a business. And if you are to treat government work as a business, what the government of Uganda is currently doing would be equivalent to hiring a manager, paying them, let me say you have 100 million, you hire a manager, and you pay them 80 million so they can supervise the project of 20 million. That's not feasible. And in local government financing in Uganda, it's what the government is currently doing. You spend 90% on wages and workshops and cars for the officials, and you only have 10% or usually 80% to spend on actual development work.
Okay. Gentlemen and a lady, can we look at what NRM has done in 1 year in office? Starting with Ndebesa. do you see any progress after the general elections? We have 1 year with a new government, with a new president. Are we really on course? Is there any reason Ugandans should worry? Are we perishing or we're going to prosper? Ndebesa?
We cannot say that government has done nothing completely. Government, or governments all over, including that of Idi Amin, did something. And most importantly, at least, we are not a failed state. Uganda is not a failed state. We have levels of insecurity here and cases of insecurity here and there. But at least there is still a semblance of integrity in the country, and I think that is very, very important. But let me say this. We are now having different development programs in the country. At the risk of being misunderstood, development programs are the problem in Uganda. These development programs that we are having in Uganda are the source of the problem. What do I mean here? We are having very many programs and we are spending very money on the ground, and we are spreading it in such a manner that we are focusing on political results, not development results. So spread money around so that each one can get 100,000 or one goat, so that you can support you for regime survival at the expense of consolidating this money, and you implement a program that causes structural transformation in society. So the having very many programs and spreading money thinly on the ground is the problem in my opinion. Now somebody talked about infrastructure. We are now having even a problem of infrastructure. We had planned to have a standard gauge railway. We changed from it now to using the old one, but even the old one is still unused. That infrastructure is a very fundamental problem. We don't have storage in this country, storage for our agricultural produce. That one is going to be a wastage if you don't address the infrastructure or storage. But where are we going to get money for infrastructure development? We're spreading it thin on the ground, and when we are also spreading it on political support, in terms of political support, we have got a lot of money that is being spread over the country, thin on the ground. That's why we are increasing ministers, we are increasing MPs, we are increasing districts. All this is renting political support that we call in political science political patronage. So the determines how we spend our little money, not economic development logic. So as long as we are still privileged political, not economic, we shall continue to have problems. Anyway, you are finally in this 1 year. This 1 year has been one of, I think, beating about the bush to see what can come out of the bush, although there could be guerrillas coming from the bush.
We try and error.
Well, I don't know even whether we are trying for this 1 year, because we have been emerging from COVID-19 lockdown, and then we had inflation, which we are also not addressing, because I think that somewhere, somehow, we could subsidize certain sectors. You are going to ask me, where will you get the money from? We have the money, but how to get that money? By reducing expense in certain sectors. When you hear supplementary budget, I have never had almost supplementary budget that is going to development. Supplementary budget is for consumption, is for governance issues. It is not about development. So we could now make sure that we are frugal. I think there is an economics term called frugality, such that you reduce very much on expenditure on consumption by government, and then money and invest it either in development or subsidizing certain strategic sectors. Okay. But as long as we are getting supplementary budget
for consumption,
we shall continue matching time instead of progress the middle income status for the whole country. Certain regions are already middle income status.
And at the end of the day, Uganda will be a failed state.
Well, that one we are not sure because Uganda is an accident in the making, and we are. I normally say that we are moving in a political fog, and we are liable to a political accident.
And we are experiencing serious injuries.
Well, those injuries can always recover, but we could have a serious one where we shall drop down the cliff.
We pray we don't reach there. Mrs. Selwada, in 1 year in office after the general elections,
somehow,
what have you done and what have you failed? And why have you failed anyway?
She's going to tell you the cause and how far we have moved.
The reason why failed state, I think, is a very strong word. Because we have a government in place and we have government programs in place. And I want to emphasize that we have well-established government programs.
Okay.
Implementation is another thing. But the most important thing is...
Another thing that needs concern.
Yeah, holding our leaders accountable. For example, we have the members of parliament. I've never heard them discuss the NDP3 because it's in planning is in NDP3. Have we unpacked the NDP3? Are the members of parliament on board with the NDP3? So back to the people. Is our budgeting geared towards NDP3, for example? Because this is what we set out to do as government, and it's well written. It has very good targets. It has very good programs. Okay. So to me, the starting point should be holding our leaders accountable. Let each ministry be inclined to NDP3. Let RA tell us that under the NDP3, we have the money to finance this percentage. Because even the finances are indicated. But to me, I think the caller from Arua, and we are concerned that we don't have parliamentary care. But do they hold their parliamentary representatives accountable as to why they don't have roads, as to why they don't have food security in their homes, as to why they don't have hospitals? Why do they come here and they don't address the issues that are affecting their people? Yet everything is well outlined. We have the NRM manifesto.
What have you done?
Is it talking to us?
Maybe another question. Is the NRM manifesto talking to NDP3?
Yeah, I think it is in some areas. So to me, these are fundamental issues we need to ask.
What have you done in 1 year?
As government. Those are the planning. The planning is right. Because you cannot implement something which is not well planned. The planning is right, but the implementation is wrong. And the implementation is wrong because there is a lot of wastage. We've already talked about corruption. We've already talked about the bloated government, the bloated parliament. Why do we have 500 members of parliament?
You're saying the parliament has not taken up NDP3, but we're supposed to popularize this very program.
Government and parliament, because these are the three arms. So to me, before you even go into parliament, you have to know what arms of government and how are we implementing them, how are going to affect my constituency. So holding our leaders accountable, the governance issues are very key, and we've done something. So, but let's all join in and make sure that we ask the fundamental questions, we assess, we give guidance, and we participate.
Okay. What do you have to say about the increasing of fuel prices and commodity prices? Is it also on Russia and Ukraine war?
I want to really, this is Ministry of Energy, because my ministry is not an implementing ministry.
And perhaps you are also working for the government, and perhaps you would be having some information that me and the
ministries. Ministry of Energy should be able to answer this. We have the oil and gas industry, which has come up very strongly. They should be able to answer these questions and tell us why we have increased fuel prices. Because to me, I don't see any reason as to why. Sincerely speaking, as a person, I don't see any reason as to why we have increased fuel prices.
Okay, and you're concerned also?
I'm very, very concerned because it affects me.
What have you done as a representative of the people?
She's not an MP.
I'm not an MP.
But working for the government in that ministry.
Well, I'm in the really not really, because I'm a technical person, but that does not exonerate me. But what we are trying to say, the Ministry of Energy and all the sectors should come out, even the National Planning Authority should come out and tell us why we have increased fuel prices, because they impact on all the sectors and every basic commodity we have.
In a circumstance where we find a government official, whether coming from which sector, we always raise our issues as Ugandans.
Yes,
Emmanuel,
and we should be able to answer.
Emmanuel, have you in any way identified what the NRM has done in this 1 year? Are we on course?
No, we are, as Professor Ndebesa said, we are, although we are staggering, and Professor Ndebesa says we may get an accident. I'll just address about 2 or 3 issues. Yesterday, I was reading the newspaper, and I found this very interesting report by Bank of Uganda, saying that Uganda, it is estimated that Uganda has about 22 million people who are working.
22.
Yes, but all of those are earning above $1 million shillings.
Okay.
And which is more than 11 million people who are working in Uganda, are earning less than 150,000 shillings per month. Now, it first of all, first draw your mind to someone working, or actually more than 11 million people working for less than 150,000 shillings a month in these current circumstances.
Translate it into per day.
Help us. Maybe Professor can help us. Let me just quickly translate that into, and then we shall actually see the things.
Maybe about 15 or even less.
No, 150,000 divided by 30 days, just 5,000 shillings a day.
Oh, sure.
Yes, 5,000 shillings a day. So that is that's a report by Uganda, not by
on a day. All right, on a day.
So now that gives, first of all, that raises questions about where are we investing, as Professor Ndebesa was saying. Where are things or policies like the minimum wage bill, which has been stuck in Parliament forever? Because I usually hear our government saying we're coming investors, and every time you drive around along the Namamve route, you see all these women working from those factories. But it means that these are the women you're saying investors have come and you have created jobs, but the women are being paid 4,000 shillings a day. Yes, you can say employment is there. Yes, you can say factories are there, but how is that going to how is someone working an entire day and earning 4,000 shillings going to transform their lives, or going to help them contribute to the national economy? Moderator, in the same report now, looking at that report I've just mentioned, there was also something very interesting. So if you're saying only 1% of people working in Uganda are earning above $1 million shillings in this 1 year we have been in government, but the projections for how government is getting revenue show that government actually expects to get more money from pay as you earn as compared to VAT.
Okay.
That shows 2 things. First of all, the consumption capacity of our population is still very low, which means people are actually very poor. But it also shows that in our employment there are growing inequalities. The inequalities are very huge. That those who are earning big. That's why you pay as you earn is expected to gain more money for government. But also, Madam Sirwada has mentioned NDP3, and coming from the CSO world, where we and specifically our constituency as the Forum for Women Democracy being the women of Uganda, there are programs which concern us a lot. Issues like gender-based violence and women's rights fall under the program of community mobilization and mindset change in the NDP3. Now, Professor Ndebesa asked whether the NRM manifesto, the current government programming is in line with NDP3, and in some cases they are. For example, the Human Capital Development Program in the NDP3 is actually almost meeting. I think it is showing photo of its funding target, because when NDP3 was developed, it also had what they call funding targets, saying by this year we shall be funding this program this much. Now, the Human Capital Development Program, which has to do with health and education, although there are also serious underinvestments in there, at least is trying to meet its targets for the NDP3 financing.
All right.
But if I can conclude, for us, we are very concerned about the community mobilization and mindset change program, because it is the program which deals with issues of gender, of women. And the government had committed in the NDP3 that by this financial year we are now in, the community mobilization and message change program would be funded up to a tune of 800 billion.
Okay.
But the current fund is at 72 billion. You can say it's not even 10%. Is it 10% even? It's about 11% funding to that program.
Okay. But who is that who has got a correct mind that is going to change my mind? I would rather that money actually is removed. That mindset change. What are you changing, and who is that who is changing? Who has got a better mind than the peasant even? The issue is not mindset change. The issue is providing right infrastructure, right opportunities for people to transform themselves. My mother was using a tractor in 1969. Today, people do, even those who are educated like me, do not use a tractor, because even getting a tractor is not there. So the issue is not mindset change. And it's expensive. The mindset change is an assumption through, I think, I'm afraid to say, through arrogance. Yes, I am not saying there isn't should be mindset change, but we should first sit down in a dialogue and agree on public morality and public standards as a country, and then we see how to go about changing the minds. But for a group of people, for you to come and tell everybody that you have got a correct mind and the rest don't have a mind and you are going to change them, that's not the development. In the NGOs, you normally talk about participatory development, participatory research,
and
budgeting, so that all the people are consulted, so that these are adults, they know what they want to do. I gave an example of Bushenyi, which has got one of the best banana plantations looked after. Who went there to change their mind that they have good plantations? Did the government go there to change their mindset?
Thank you, Professor. Because
in seconds, as you conclude,
the community mobilization and mindset change program deals with two issues: mindset, but also community mobilization for development.
Okay.
And what I was paying attention to is that it also affects for us key indicators in the country, and one of the key indicators we are concerned with as a women's rights NGO is the current the current trends in for example teenage pregnancies and child mothers, which this program can affect strongly if they can educate Ugandans and try to but also try, because things like the community development officers, the probation officers all fall under this program.
Thank
and
you.
Right now they're just being paid money to sit in office, but they have no money for functioning.
Thank you. We are live on 98 FM, UBC Radio. We are discussing are we on course towards attaining the middle income status, middle income status after 1 year of general elections. I'm waiting for Honorable Dombo, the spokesperson of the NRM, to be online and also share his opinions, but also address these concerns. I think we shall get back to Honorable Dombo later on. Yes. Ground Zero. Shall get back to Honorable Dombo. Ndebesa,
Yes.
in a situation where we're shifting and waiting for the Ukraine war to end, in a circumstance where our borders are still being jeopardized by the rebel activities, the security of this country, the increasing road accidents where Ugandans are losing their dear lives, commodity prices going high second after the other, fuel prices going high. Where is Uganda going? What should Ugandans prepare for? Ndebesa?
That is, those are very many questions, and I don't know how to answer all of them in one way. But I think Uganda needs an orderly society. Uganda is not an orderly society. If you go on the streets of Kampala right now, and you see actually the people who are out of order in Kampala is the right thing to do. You know, there is somebody who wrote a book and say Africa works. The way Africa works is this disorderly society, and we need to have an orderly society, even without talking about democracy as in consent and accountability and whatever. Can we first have an orderly society so that we do things the right way, not the wrong way? The way we are doing things is that we are doing things so informally, and we don't have public morality. We are over-concentrating on private morality in the sense that we have preachers who preach and whatever about changing an individual. That's why even they are talking about mindset change of an individual. We must first address public morality. Public morality in terms of, for example, people have been talking about equality or equity and respect for our fellow human beings. Whether they are in opposition, whether in the government, we need to respect each other and listen. We need to listen to each other so that we all contribute towards addressing some of these challenges.
All right.
These challenges are there. For example, let me give an example of inflation or this increased price of commodities. Yes, external causes of this increase of commodity prices, which originated from COVID-19 lockdowns, and also the war in Ukraine, and therefore that's imported inflation. But it can be addressed. Can we solicit for views? The problem of government, it simply says, for us we have a correct line. We are not going to subsidize, full stop, and we don't want to listen to anybody. I don't think that is how the country is going to develop.
All right.
All of us can have a contribution towards addressing some of these challenges, because all societies have challenges, but let the challenges solutions not be a monopoly of one set of people who assume that everybody else is ignorant until your mind is changed.
I have Dr. Mwarimu Msheshe online, the Vice Chancellor of African Rural University. Hello?
Hello.
You are live on UBC.
Okay, let me align myself properly. Thank you.
Hello? All right. As we're waiting for Dr. Mwarimu Msheshe, who is online, is the Vice Chancellor, African Rural University in Kagadi. We're winding up.
Before he aligns himself.
I'm waiting for him. Hello?
Maybe he was traveling.
Doctor, you're live?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. This is UBC Ground Zero.
Oh, great.
It is a very big privilege having you, Doctor.
I appreciate. Thanks for the compliment.
We are talking about, are we on course towards attaining the middle income status after 1 year of general elections? NRM has 1 year. Do you see any improvement? Do you see any achievement? Do you see us going where the NRM has to go?
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, viewer and the members of the panel.
All right.
There is a a yes and no. Yes, in a sense that since we were caught up in the COVID pandemic, although of course there were also signs that we were lagging behind in terms of the activities, tasks, and strategies that would lead us to even the lower income status, economic status. But of course, to make the matters worse, the pandemic came. But you give it to Ugandans that even during the pandemic, except for a few sectors like transport, sectors like tourism, but other sectors continued functioning, but at a lower scale. For example, if you look at agriculture, in many areas of the country, agriculture continued to produce food for the towns, and I'm glad that the government then allowed transportation of foodstuffs through trucks and pickups. So the transport sector, as far as transporting goods and services, even trucks which were carrying cargo from outside the country, continued to function. So therefore, the agriculture sector, whereas the prices plummeted, was not actually brought to its knees.
Are we yet in the middle income status, Doctor?
Yeah, because the factors that can lead to a middle income status are agriculture, tourism, oil and gas, manufacturing, the what we call the hospitality industry. So all those sectors, you must look at how they are performing to see whether you are going to attain the goal or not attain the goal. And then you have to look also at the factors in play that could enhance or remain bottlenecks. For example, as we are talking now in Uganda, many years ago, as I used to travel coming to rural Kagadi, to move from one trading center to a trading center was between 15 and 20 kilometers, or at times 30. But now, as we are talking, every 3 to 5 kilometers, you'll find a mushrooming trading center, which means one of the indicators of moving towards the middle income is the phenomenon of urbanization. So you need to look at those indicators. Are we urbanizing in the right form? Are we urbanizing in the right substance? Are we urbanizing and feeding the people from the sectors that are supposed to feed them? Are we urbanizing and they are building houses, offices, which means the construction industry is picking up? So all those things you cannot ignore.
Okay.
In systems thinking, you must see the inter and intra relationship between the different facets.
We must be experiencing the urbanization and other factors, but when the people of Uganda are still poor, is this a development in other sectors, but people are not having it and feeling it?
I think we need also to look at, yes, people are poor, and it is getting more biting with the escalating prices of goods and services, especially following on the heels of the pandemic. We have the Ukraine-Russian crisis, and therefore many things are getting high, but this is not a permanent feature.
All right.
Now let us go to the issue of poverty.
Okay.
What are the indices? What do we look at? Because we are aiming at the $1,036 as per capital income per person, and we are, I'm told, at 900, which means we are falling short.
What do you expect the government to do in the next 4 years remaining?
Actually, things are going to be like this.
Until we end the term?
One, if conditions remain constant, what are those conditions? Condition number one, that we don't have wars in the country, because wars are disruptive. Condition number two is that we tame climate change by the new technologies. Condition number three, that we continue industrializing, especially in the agricultural sector, looking at the forward and the backward linkages.
Okay.
So if we put our house in order, and then of course, innovations and inventions, because I see the young people who are coming from university are not now heavily specialized in the courses they took. They have found a way of reinventing themselves. They are in technology, they are in business, they are becoming entrepreneurial. So there are all signs.
Okay.
All that we need to do is the conditions to make the fertile ground for that.
Maybe your last comment on that, Doctor. Our time is fast spent. We got you when it was late. Your last comment on that, our time is fast spent.
The last comment is that I'm an optimistic person,
and
I'm in the rural area looking at education, and relevant education, supporting innovations and creativity, and everyone contributing the best they can. Instead of agonizing, we should be organizing.
All right. It was great having you at UBC Ground Zero, Doctor.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Unfortunately, at the beginning, we had hiccups.
All right.
Okay. Nice day and weekend.
All right. That was Dr. Mwarimu Msheshe, the Vice Chancellor of African Rural University from Kagadi. Our time is fast spent, our dear listener and our guests. I think we are going to use a few seconds to round up our program of this edition of Ground Zero. Starting with you, Emmanuel, in seconds, and Ndebesa, and then Ms. Serwada. Emmanuel?
Thank you, moderator. For me, I think as we conclude, I would like just to stress about two things. The difference between development and transformation is something that Uganda needs to look at, because we can develop, we can reach middle income, and yet leave very big parts of our population behind. And within that one is, of course, my constituency. Our constituency has from women in democracy. The women that we, and Professor Ndebesa already mentioned, we need to focus on both equality and equity in as we do our budgeting, as government does its planning. Right. Otherwise, we shall leave behind a very big proportion of our population, and we shall not move because they will be dragging us behind.
All right. Professor Ndebesa?
Thank you. I think there are very many things we could talk about, but I want to say that
that's true.
Spreading money thinly on the ground in these very many programs is not going to lead to transformation. But two, and lastly, is where Mwarimu Msheshe talked about the oil and gas, but he left out other mineral areas like gold, which is now the biggest export of Uganda.
And one of our callers said that they should legalize it.
Well, it is somehow legalized, but it shouldn't be monopolized by some individuals. There is iron, and I think they have started using Muko iron in the steel industry. We have coltan in Uganda, so we should invest in the mineral sector as a natural resource. Otherwise, agriculture is not a very productive enterprise other than investing in it purposely, majorly, for food security.
All right. Thank you, Professor Ndebesa. Mrs. Selwada?
Thank you, moderator. I want to emphasize the fact that as Ugandans and as citizens of this country, we all have a collective role to play. Let's be proactive. Let's try to understand what is being planned for us. Let's try to interpret it into practical actions. But most important, let's hold our leaders accountable to all these areas. The understanding, the sharing of information, and being accountable is very, very key.
All right.
But maybe I should mention that we've all agreed here that we need orderly Uganda. And in order to create an orderly Uganda, I want to agree with the change of mindset. Because if I'm a border rider and I don't even respect the traffic lights, I don't even respect the rules and regulations on the road, I need somebody to help me change my mind and be geared towards orderly and orderly citizen who can take on the rules and regulations.
And the Parliament and Executive should also follow rules and procedures of awarding contracts and tenders.
That's very true. It was you, ladies and gentlemen, and your dear listener. This is UBC Ground Zero. We've been broadcasting live on 98 FM. UBC Radio. We're also live on Butebo, live on Western Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM. I want to take this very opportunity to thank our panelists today. Senior Lecturer of History and Development Studies from Makerere University, the Regional Integration Expert from the Ministry of East African Affairs. We also had Emmanuel Kabashaija is for the program Gender and Economic from the Forum for Women in Democracy. We also had Professor Dr. Marimo Mosheshi is the Vice Chancellor, African Rural University from Karagadi. I want to take also this very opportunity to thank our callers, Juma from Bosega, John from Tororo, Geoffrey, Jimmy from Chibuli, Sadis from Bosega, and many others. And for those that had issues with the phone, we promise that next time it will be well, and we shall have more time for you, the callers. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that participated. I'm holding the Interim Manifesto, and on the first page they say that the amount of securing the future of Uganda is so great a task for one to play bets on. It is not a gamble. It is a matter which requires lifelong commitment and ending sacrifice and vast experience. NRM is the only political organization that can be trusted with the sacred responsibility of securing Uganda's future, and we pray that you maintain this very commitment and serve the people of Uganda for the remaining 4 years. This topic, I believe it is big for us to discuss. We shall always discuss it in bits, and from all of us at UBC, wish you all the best. For God and my country, I'm Peide Amon Butega. Allow me to sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the custodial tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Situations come, none of them will come. my God. I go follow you, Jesus, no matter what them say. I go follow you, Jesus, no matter come my way. I go follow you, Jesus, no matter what them say. I go follow you, Jesus, no matter come my way. Yes, my Lord, you're the life I'm living. You're the light I need. You're the one I search for all the days of my life. You're the one I always serve. You're the one I always proclaim wherever I go. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that you are Lord, that you are God. There's none like you, oh my Lord. I always follow all your steps. Guide I, so that I never fall, my Lord.
Teacher, preacher. No matter the stress you are, no matter what one day pain you have, never give up. Put up your trust in your Lord, your God. Yeah, someday all things will change. Never give up on your faith. Never give up. Just put up your heart and your head so high. It will be well in all your life. It will be well in your life. It will be well. You gonna rise somewhere. You gonna rise somewhere. You gonna rise someday. You gonna rise someday. Hear me sing, say. No matter people sing, no matter what the people do. You gonna rise somewhere. No matter people sing, no matter what the people say. You gonna rise somewhere. Yeah. Lucy in the field. She got Boaz. David was a shepherd. He became a king. Molodokai was the one son that gave by the wisdom. He was favored by the king. Esther, she became